Hi everyone, this is Heather Falona, and I wanted to do a video about aspects of mediumship and kind of helping people develop their own abilities. I oftentimes get a lot of requests for doing mentorships or, trying to help other people develop their abilities, and I think it's fantastic. Unfortunately, I don't have the time personally to do a lot of one-on-one mentoring. And I know for me, that was one of the things that I was seeking out when I was trying to develop and understand and open up to my abilities. It was really important for me to take in as much information as I can. So I wanted to do a little bit of service here and tell you what I did, what worked for me, and maybe it might work for you as well. So today I'm going to be covering off on building out a reference library. So for me, this was one of probably the most important things in terms of building my abilities up and just understanding them. A lot of times when people start connecting with spirit, they start to get visions. We see things, right? And they say a picture speaks 1,000 words. And it really is true, because you could see a vision of something and everybody interprets it differently. And so for me, the way spirit would work is around clairvoyance, and that's how I would see a lot of visions. And when you go deeper into them, the message unfolds. But just baselining visions, clairvoyancy, understanding when you see things, what that means. And so I just want to kind of go over a couple things that I did in order to help build out my reference library and understand what I was being shown. Because there was times, even after I'd been doing it for many years, I would be shown a vision and it made no sense to me. I was like, I don't understand what I'm seeing. But if you sit with it and go deeper, then you can get a message. Sometimes a vision of what you're seeing is literal, sometimes it's metaphoric. And so you really have to discern what you're getting based off the vision you're seeing. For example, when I started doing mediumship, one of the first things I did was I would see a lot of visions of things. They'd come in readings, and I did a lot of just practice readings on, the biggest thing with mediumship is about practicing, sitting with your guides, understanding what does that mean, asking them. Sometimes I don't understand. It took me a while to figure out that I could just, wait a second, you showed me this vision. I didn't know what it meant, and I felt like in the reading I was stuck. What does that mean? And so they really worked with me to help me build out the reference library. So I always give credit to spirit, because I wouldn't be able to do any of this if it wasn't for spirit and amazing guides to be able to help me through the process. And so I would take and just create an Excel spreadsheet and literally just put what the vision I would see is and what that meant to me. And soon into it, I had quite a few references. And ironically, when I started again doing mediumship on more of a larger scale, and a lot of people asking for mentorship, and I thought, what can I do to help people with that, understanding those things? So I created a deck, and if you can see it here, it's my a little bit of a glare. It is When Spirit Speaks, and essentially the cards in here are kind of visions that I would see when I was reading. This is, if I see kind of overlays on top, there's a lot of reminiscing, going to the past, certain things like that. This one is kind of one of my personal favorites because it's still a big life lesson for me, just in general. This card, Spirit would show blurry faces with things, and where people, a lot of times when things happen in our lives, we personalize the pain to an individual. And when it's just purely a lesson and there's a reason why things are coming in, and we have to step outside the emotions of who versus what, that's what they would show me, blurry faces. So you can see a bunch of people in there, but you can't really see their face, and that's the point. It's about a lesson, it's not about the person. And so really trying to not, because a lot of times we bypass the lesson if we don't, if we focus too much on the individual who created that lesson for us. So anyway, so there's a lot of cards in here, and you can see there's just a lot of a lot of different visions that they would show me. Brick wall, I would see when somebody's blocked and they just really weren't receptive or open to change. So that's really good. You can do something like that. And I'm sure a lot of people do tarot cards, and there's times where Spirit will show me a card, a tarot card, like from the Rider-Waite deck, where this Waite deck, and that'll be my symbol for something for them, like the Justice card or something like that. So if you're someone who's already starting into a lot of cards, tarot, and you've done that for a while, Spirit may show you the cards without you even having to draw any. So that's another thing that you can do. So just understanding and building out that dictionary. Another thing that's interesting is if you get like cards here that are like flashcards. So flashcards are good for if you are trying to, it's more advanced, but if you're trying to get into names or letters of individuals, a lot of times when you do readings, people want to know the names. Spirit doesn't really care about names. It was just a given name. It doesn't really mean anything, but Spirit will sometimes flash. A lot of times I'll just get the energy of the letter, or the letter itself, but generally speaking it's around the energy, because every name carries a vibration. We can think of a name of someone and we think like good happy thoughts or kind of lower thoughts, or whatever, depending on the person that you knew that may be in correlation to that name. So it's just an interesting, another thing that you can do. What I did too, because I'm kind of a geek sometimes with the way I like to get organized and structured, is I put together and this is so old, it's funny, I haven't pulled this thing out in a long time, and I am just starting to go through this to kind of I want to be able to share that insight with you all. So I put this together, and it's a little, my binder, my mediumship, if you can see that here, it's not very sexy or anything, but it's my little binder that I created. And like in here, there's a bunch of names that like top names. So again, I would just sit with each one of the names and try to feel into a vibration, because there was a point in time where I was like, I really want to get names. So I would do that as well. Stuff like studying the top diseases, what people die most of, and understanding the feeling. Like sometimes you can, like for example, if somebody died of a drug overdose, understanding the different types that they could die from, and watching videos or something where somebody talks about that. Now I know that's a bit morbid, and it's something I when I first thought, I don't want to feel in the energy of what that feels like. But for me in my mediumship, because I've done certain things like that, and because if you don't experience something firsthand, you have to kind of, the next best thing, whether it's like watching a movie that they have this come up, Spirit will draw on your references, on the things you've experienced firsthand. And so again, this is more if you want to do readings like for other people, but if you're just looking to just general, not getting to that level of detail, you can really take this as far and wide and deep as you want, or you can just just kind of use it for your own benefit. I will say, a lot of times as mediums, it's a little bit more difficult to connect to your loved ones because you have more of a vested interest. You're more closer connected to it, and you don't really have the discernment, because it's you. Like, okay, well, was that really my grandpa saying that? And so for me, a lot of times when I get messages from Spirit, it's even from my own loved ones, I'm kind of like, tell me something I don't know so that I can validate. Like if my grandpa comes through, I'll ask my dad, did you know about this? Just because I have a personal connection there. So it is a little bit more difficult to do mediumship for yourself, or even someone you really know. If you know them, there's too many dynamics there. And especially the closer you get to someone, it usually it creates a little bit too much of an intimacy to where it might, on one side or the other, feel like a little jaded because you've maybe made an opinion about the person, or you've developed in a relationship about them, and so it makes it a little difficult. I mean, I know there's been times where I've gone to events where I've done readings for people, and at the beginning I try not to socialize too much, and it's I know it comes off a little bad, but I just really don't want to create anything where I get to know someone on a personal level and all of a sudden I get a reading for them and then I'm like, I can't give a pure message. So I would say it comes down to purity is really the thing there. But yeah, you can build out, kind of your reference library for whatever makes sense for you, depending on, again, you could go very high level, you can go deeper, but it's the whole mediumship process is a journey. I always say that it is not a destination. And so every time you conquer kind of one aspect of your mediumship, other things will open up as well. And so, again, this doesn't just have to be mediumship. It could be just kind of psychically developing, same type of thing. My frame of reference is more around mediumship, so that's where I always kind of default to. But just really understanding the language of spirit. It is a new language. It's like learning a foreign language. I don't know if people truly appreciate and understand that. And the more that you learn about language of spirit and the way in which they communicate and develop that kind of communication with you, it's not that they're communicating differently with anyone else. It's just that other person receives things differently. So example, like I might get the something that indicates like a certain thing for me, whereas someone else might like vulnerability or something. One of the cards here, naked person, just being all out there. That's a sign of vulnerability, right? And someone else might get someone standing up in front of a large audience, doing something that they're afraid, like public speaking. So again, they speak to you in terms that you resonate with most. Visuals, those type of things. But the more you kind of do this work and understand and develop the language of spirit, again, whether it's psychic or medium, whatever, you will find that, and I think it's fascinating that language is a man-made thing. It is something we've made up. We've all kind of we've created a structure, right, around things like time. It's all structure based. Spirit doesn't have time. Spirit doesn't really have words. It's energy. But we've tried to energetically, as a medium, what I do is when I get energy, I try to translate that into human words. So obviously I speak English. That's my translation. I'll say, okay, this is kind of, and sometimes they say something where it's almost like I don't know the right English term in which to use to describe what I'm getting, so let me tell you what I'm feeling. So it's interesting, but you'll see as you develop your language with spirit how it's very subjective, and it's very much, you just see how language it's quite fascinating. Again, it's another language. Energy, you're speaking the language of energy, and what does that look like? So I guess that's the bigger question. So anyway, so I do hope this was helpful. I'll try to do more of these as things come up, but I think that's a good kind of baseline in terms of developing that language of spirit, and just understanding when spirit speaks, what does that mean to you? So I do hope this was helpful.